Listeners be advised. The Heauxliloquy Podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Heauxliloquy Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slater Jackson, and for you freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Adams. And on today's episode, it's really not an episode. It is welcoming back everybody to season 4 of the Heauxliloquy Podcast. Woo, yeah, yes, bitch, yes, all the good things. Welcome back. I know it's been some time since you've heard my voice. Well, of course, if you've been listening to some episodes in the hiatus and whatnot, or just going back to listen to some old episodes, whatever it is, either you're new to the voice, remembering the voice, or you've already been here re-listening, all those other great things. Love to have all you here. But before I even go into this little welcome back and explain what's been going on and all that, I feel like it's good for me to let people know what kind of podcast this is. First and foremost, we know it's a sex podcast. That's great. That's good. But what is also important to know that this is let's start it this way. It is a pro-black, pro-sex, pro-ho, anti-genocide, pro-embracing everybody, anti-racist, anti-MAGA, just to be completely on front on game with that. Anti-sexual assault, anti-sexual abuse, anti-sexual violence, podcast, and so many more things that fit. We are pro-Palestinian over here. And it's pro-Islam faith, pro-Muslim, pro-supporting people of diverse communities because we do care about human rights and treating people like humans. Anti-genocide. Like there's so many things about this podcast. And I get that people do not tune into this podcast to hear the political things because it's not a political podcast. But guess what? Sex is political for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't need to be, but people make it that. And until people are willing to allow people to have their human rights and have the autonomy to express themselves the way that they need to, unfortunately, this is a sex podcast that is also political, and politics impact every avenue of our lives. And I will be lying if I acted as though it does not. So if that is something that makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. If that's something that makes you not want to listen to the podcast, that is fine with me because human rights are more important than the platform that I have. So it is what it is. And you may not be the audience that this podcast is meant to reach, or it's not your time to be listening to this podcast. Either or, it is fine with me. But with all that being said, let's go into what has been going on in my life and why is it that the podcast has been on break for so long. So, as some of you do or do not know, I have been studying to become a therapist, and I've completed my studies. I actually completed my studies a year ago. However, in doing so, well, let's put it this way. I had to uproot my life, move to Atlanta for my internship, and endured a lot. For those who live in Atlanta, you understand how that city can easily break down a person and can build a person back up or keep them down, or you just find the strength to do whatever it is that's best for you. It was never a city that was going to be mine for long term. But at the end of the day, I had to be there for intern purposes. So moved back home, and now I'm just trying to gain my footing. So, of course, was able to get back to home. I'm not telling y'all where that's at. I'm in Georgia. That's all you need to know. But I moved back and mostly just been trying to get things situated, finding my own place and rebuilding what I had prior to moving to Atlanta for internship. The process has not been going my way, but it's not something that has beaten me up or beaten me down or remove the hope or where I see myself. There's still hopes for me to leave this country, so if that is something that is a part of the cards too. And of course, that's something for another day. I'm not going to spend too much time in talking about that, but that's for a future Vernon to go ahead and, make sure those logistics are together. But until then, I'm here. I am here in the United States. So, yeah. Now, with the transitions of last year, of course, to run a podcast is not something that does not come with expenses. So, to ensure that I have everything that I can do, I had to make sure I had the time to dedicate to the podcast, which was very much so lacking, as well as the funds to make sure I can pay for everything that I need to keep everything up and running. In the moments I had the funds, I did not have the time. And also, there were moments where I just didn't have either. Unfortunately, last July, because of some of the decisions made by the regime that we have in office right now, that I had to endure a budget cut at the place that I work at, where I teach, in a job that I truly enjoy doing. So I ended up having to double up elsewhere to make it so that I could survive, essentially. Um, so I did not have the time to really to indulge my passions as much as I would have. And now things are leveling out. I had to make some work transitions. I still teach, thankfully. But I had to revamp my schedule, figure out things in terms of therapy work and licensure and all those other great things in order for me to create an environment for me to succeed as a podcaster once more in the time frame of when the last episode aired within season, which would have been, I think that was June of 2024. Between that time frame, and I'm not including the election aftercare episode because that was more November related, and also just to give space for people to, feel the feels of what we were moving into. And look where we are, 2025, and we're now 2026. Anyways, but outside of those things, where was I? Y'all know my mind doesn't be working the way I need it to. But whatever it is, what I was saying, it may come back to me, it may not, but yeah, in trying to develop the right environment for me to come back onto the show. Oh yeah. Within that time frame, there was just I ended up losing connection with some of the people who I wanted to have on for season four. Because when people are looking to be on the show, and you're not putting on the show, then of course they will find other things to do. And I don't blame any person who have lost contact or who's lost interest in being in the show, or even shifted the type of work that they've done since coming onto the show, or doing an intake to record for the show. Whatever the case is, I don't fault any of them for not being on the show at all. And I don't even blame myself, because some certain circumstances was outside of my control too. So there's not much self-blame, but there is accountability. So let's be real, there are accountabilities going on here. But I'm rebuilding a lot of the show, so episodes are not going to roll out the same way that they did before, but there will be new episodes coming out. So I'm excited about that. There's going to be new voices, there's going to be old voices. So y'all bear with me as the Heauxliloquy podcast comes back in full motion to be what it was before. There will still be Hovember, because that is something that I truly enjoy, and I'm looking forward to having that return. Because it's been such a long time, y'all. It's been such a long time, and I don't want anyone to think that my time away from the show was me giving up on the show, because that is not what it is. It was just life was having its run with me, and I was running with life. So we were going hand in hand to figure out how can we find some balance in order for life to have whatever it wants, and for me, in terms of how I want to control my life, has plays its own role. So, making things work the best way possible. With that being said, welcome back to the podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing where this year brings us. And I hope that more people are willing and open to coming on to the show to share their perspectives, to join this conversation outside of just in your homes, and also have some of these conversations with those people that you care about, your friends, your family, and sometimes those spicy coworkers. And you remember, HR is important. Like we don't want to say that man who has this podcast named Vernon and these other names that he has and shit told me that it's okay for me to have this conversation with my coworkers. I did not say that. Consent is important, so make sure that y'all are on the same wavelength if you're going to have any of the conversations that we have here on this podcast. So I hope you're looking forward to this new season as I am, and you're excited and all those other great things. But with all that being said, let me go ahead and close this out because I am rambling. But as usual, thank you all so much for subscribing. For those who've reviewed the podcast, left 5 stars, and just know that you're appreciated. For those who are even just taking the time to listen to some of what this ghetto ass podcast has to offer, I appreciate you as well. And since this is the official welcome back to the podcast, we have to have the official ending as well. So thank you all so much for listening to the Heauxliloquy Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. And just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful. You are worthy of happiness and joy. You are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. And with that said, I love you all, and I'll see you next episode. Bye. The Heauxliloquy Podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Heauxliloquy Podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Heauxliloquy Podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation. Thank you for listening to the Heauxliloquy Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.heauxliloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.